Maria stood alone in her small room. Next to her, the dress. It was simple but elegant, the kind she had once worn to church on Sundays. Now it was the only thing of value left in her life. Her children were hungry. She had no bread, no milk, and no money. She looked at the dress and whispered to herself, "If I sell this, maybe we can eat tonight." The thought cut deep. That dress carried her memories, moments of hope, of dignity, of the woman she once was. But hunger was stronger than pride. She folded the dress carefully, placed it in an old bag, and prepared to walk to the marketplace. As she stepped out into the cold street, Maria lifted her head high. Her heart was heavy, but she whispered again, "I must be strong for them."
The market was full of people. Voices mixed in the air. Children ran between the stalls, and sellers shouted their prices. Maria walked slowly, holding the old bag close to her chest. Inside was the dress, carefully folded. She looked around. Everywhere people were buying food, bread, fruit, milk, meat. She smelled roasted chestnuts and fresh bread, and her stomach tightened. Her children were waiting at home. She needed to sell the dress. Maria stopped at one stall. The seller, a man with a strong voice, asked, "What do you want, madame?" Maria opened the bag, showing the dress. "I want to sell this," she said softly. The man looked at it and laughed. "A dress! This is a market for food, not for old clothes." People nearby turned their heads and stared. Maria's face grew warm, but she stood tall. She tried again at another stall. A woman selling fruit looked at her dress and shook her head. "No one here will buy that. Go to the tailor. Maybe he will give you a coin." Maria felt the weight in her chest. Each word was heavy, but she did not give up. She whispered, "I must try again for my children." She walked deeper into the market, her steps slow, her hope smaller, but her will still strong. Maria walked deeper into the market. She tried one stall after another, but each time she was rejected. The coins in other people's hands, the baskets full of food, and the smell of bread only made her heart heavier. Finally, she stopped at a large stall in the center. There was a crowd. The seller, a tall man with a loud voice, stood on a crate to call attention. Maria waited for the noise to calm. Then she lifted the folded dress. "Please, would anyone buy this dress? I only need a few coins," she said. For a moment, the market went quiet. Then laughter broke out. Some boys pointed at her, shouting, "Look at the poor woman trying to sell rags." Her face burned red. She wanted to run, but she stayed. A woman in the crowd whispered loudly, "If she sells her dress, what will she wear next? She'll have nothing." The laughter grew stronger. Maria held the dress tighter in her hands. She could feel the eyes of the crowd, heavy like stones. Her legs trembled, but she whispered to herself, "I cannot fall. I must be strong." The seller shook his head.
Go home, woman. No one will buy that here. Maria turned slowly, her eyes wet but her back straight. She walked away, each step heavy, but still refusing to give up. Maria moved to the far edge of the market. Her steps were slow, and her arms felt heavy. She wanted to cry, but she refused. She thought of her children waiting at home. At the last row of stalls, an old woman sat on a wooden chair. She wore a long dark dress and a thick shawl, her hair white and tied in a bun. She sold only a few small items: bread, cheese, and a basket of eggs. Maria stopped in front of her and whispered, Would you take this dress for some food?" The old woman looked closely at Maria. Her eyes were kind but serious. She stood up slowly, touched the fabric of the folded dress, and nodded. "This is not rags, this is sacrifice." She placed a loaf of bread, 2 eggs, and a small piece of cheese into Maria's bag. Then she pushed the dress back into Maria's hands. "Keep it. Your dignity is worth more than coins." Maria's eyes filled with tears. Her lips trembled, but she managed to say, "Thank you. I will never forget this." The old woman smiled softly. "Strength is not how much you keep, it is how much you give." Maria held the food close to her chest. For the first time that day, her heart felt lighter. Maria walked back through the market, her bag now carrying food. The bread smell rose warm into the cold air, and for a moment it gave her strength. But the sound of laughter from earlier still echoed in her ears. She kept her head down as people passed, but inside her thoughts grew louder. Why must dignity be so heavy and hunger so sharp? She whispered to herself. At the edge of the square, she stopped near a fountain. The water was frozen at the edges, and children played nearby. One little boy held a piece of bread in his hands. He laughed as he ate, crumbs falling to the ground. Maria looked at him and then at her own back. She thought of her children's faces, pale from hunger. The food was not much, but it would be enough for tonight. Still, her hands trembled as she held the bag tighter. It was not just food she carried. It was proof that kindness still lived, even in a world where so many turned away. She took a deep breath, lifted her head, and began the long walk home. Each step was slow but steady, her will stronger than her fear. The small house came into view. Smoke no longer rose from the chimney, and the windows were cold. Maria opened the door, and her children ran to her. Their eyes lit up when they saw the food in her hands. She placed the bread and cheese on the table. The children clapped their hands with joy. One of them hugged her tightly, whispering, "Mama, you are our hero." Maria smiled, though tears filled her eyes. She had no coins, no riches, and almost no strength left, but she had something greater. The memory of the old woman's words echoed in her mind. Strength is not how much you keep, it is how much you give.
That night, as her children ate, Maria kept the folded dress close. It no longer felt like just a piece of cloth. It was a reminder that even in her darkest hour, compassion had found her. She whispered a final prayer before sleep. "One day, my children will know that hunger passes, but dignity must remain." And in the silence of the night, Maria felt lighter, as if the world itself had placed a small flame of hope inside her heart.
And that was Maria's story. A story of hunger, dignity, and kindness. Now, let's remember some of the expressions we heard today. To stand strong. In English, this means to stay brave and not give up, even when life is hard. Example: she decided to stand strong for her family. A heavy heart. We say this when someone feels deep sadness. Example: she left the market with a heavy heart. To give up, to stop trying, to quit. Example: Maria did not give up even when people laughed at her. To depend on, to need someone or something. Example: her children depend on her for food and hope. To go without, to live without something you need. Example: she was ready to go without her dress so her children could eat. To be laughed at. When people make fun of you. Example: she was laughed at in the market, but she stayed strong. Worth more than. Used to compare value. Example: her dignity was worth more than coins. To bring back dignity. To return respect or honor to someone. Example: the old woman's kindness brought back Maria's dignity. These are not only English expressions, they are also lessons from life. Maria's dress became a symbol. She thought she was losing everything, but in the end, she discovered strength. And that is the heart of Whispers from the Past, learning English through stories that remind us of courage, sacrifice, and kindness. Which expression touched you most today? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the next story.